Hello there, Bick Benedict here. We're playing Uncharted 4, and this is my crushing difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on chapter 17 of 22. It is entitled For Better or Worse. Unfortunately, if you're doing this in the way that I'm doing it, and the way I did it, it's definitely going to be for the worse for you because I have some pretty depressing news to report about the first stealth encounter that you do. It's called Get to the Car, and I never like to say something is broken, but I have gone through this, and it took me about 10 hours to do this. What first happened was I spent about 7 hours doing this. I got a corrupted file, of course, on the one that worked, and I had to make a decision about whether I wanted to do it again. And I'm actually glad that I did it again because I learned a lot more about it than I knew the first time that I did it. I didn't know how broken it truly was when I first did my first successful run on it, but it's just hopelessly broken. And the problem about it is that I know how to get it to work, but I didn't realize what exactly I had to do to make it work until well after the 7 hour mark. I think I spent about 3 more hours redoing it, so that's why I say 10 hours. And unfortunately, it all comes down to the fact that the turret guy. So on crushing difficulty, that they put sometimes they put a turret on a fight, and they put an enemy near the turret manor, in other words. And I usually don't like to say anything categorically because there's always room for something to be debated or to work. But if you don't get the turret guy to behave in a very specific way, this is nearly impossible to get it to work. I've seen many videos on YouTube. A lot of people saying it's impossible. Some people, mislabeling videos, and that's always frustrating and things like that. But the way I like to do it is, as you've seen, to do it perfectly stealthily, meaning that, of course, it's not perfect, but no arousing any suspicion beyond the initial alert, and no using grenades. There's quite a few videos on YouTube of people using grenades, and that's all well and good, but that's just not what I was going for. And I just could not figure out what is the problem about this. It's not making it work because it always detects you on the final couple of enemies. And the thing is, the turret guy is naturally like unsuspicious, but you have to get his AI to the point where he's aiming his weapon, because the fight will always have him by default just manning the turret without aiming his weapon. He's got a copperhead, I think. Not that it matters, but if you do not cause him to go from his normal stance to aiming, I think it's fair to say, because I've done it so many hours, that it just won't work for you. You have to arouse his suspicion enough so that he switches his mode, and only then will it work. But there's a couple of ways that you can get it to work. You can kill a certain guy that I'm going to show you that I kill. I think it's the mercenary, but the first time I did it, I didn't kill him to get the guy to have a suspicion aroused. To be honest, I don't remember what I did because I lost the video, but I'm pretty sure that one of the guys that pulled off of a high cliff caused him to partially see me, and then on this part, by the way, I just rushed these guys to get max ammo because the fight after the stealth part, you won't have max ammo for sure because it's quite difficult. But I've also tried to do like false alarms where I'll aim my gun at the turret guy and just try to let him see me, and then have it be a false alarm. But I can never get that to work either. So this is what I'm going to show you, and I don't believe it matters if you get seen here, get the alert at first when you're jumping over this. If you do get the alert, it's because of the guy on the top left on that cliff. But I don't believe it matters at first when you jump over here. So this is the guy that I use to arouse the guy behind the turret. Now the guy behind the turret is in the middle of the screen at the top, and I'm going to magnify the screen after I kill this guy, just because for me to see while I was playing, but also for demonstrative purposes so you can see what exactly I'm talking about. So you have to do something like this to where, and I'll magnify this in. Watch his stance. He's going to start aiming, and he'll remain aiming until the end of the confrontation. And also over here, during an unprovoked stealth section, Elena, you might even hear or see her. She fired a round during the stealth section, even though I had not broken stealth. So that just shows you how broken it is, because she fired, and she does it occasionally. She'll just fire her weapon, and that causes the enemies to sometimes say some dialogue that's not true, such as like, "We'll find you, come out," or something like that, and it makes you think that you broke stealth, but you didn't do anything. It's just the game not working properly, and it's really sad. It's really bad. This guy can always be taken out really easily by just launching him over. So at this point, though, there's another mercenary over here and a guy in a white shirt. There's also a heavy up on the ridge up there that you cannot have this guy's body be on the ground anymore. So you need to throw him off into the ravine down there. And I also believe that he can see the white shirt guy that we're going to kill after this guy. But we're going to leave his corpse in the bushes anyway. But see how he looks down? He will see that guy's body to the left if you leave it anywhere on a platform over here. So now I think the best way to do this is to rush this area here, go into the grass, and when you pull enemies into the grass, I'm not sure exactly the amount of your invulnerability to being seen, but it feels like you're almost invisible when you're doing this, as long as somebody's not looking directly at you, or if you haven't aggroed the enemies. So now we need to backtrack. Sometimes it's not giving me the prompts to pick up the some of the weapons and the sub weapons over here, like the grenades. It wasn't giving me a prompt, and that's just another indication that it's broken. So what I next will do is I'll hang off this ledge over here, but you want to make sure that if you're pulling this guy off, that the heavy, obviously he's not looking, and also just make sure that you don't hang off the ledge that right beneath him, because they'll see that. The rule is that if they're not aggroed, you can go one rung below where they're at without them seeing you. And then up here, you've got a walker in a red hat to the right. You see that guy? Sometimes his AI sometimes his AI will break and he won't move, and then you've got to reset because it's broken in that regard too. Sometimes just the weirdest stuff happens when you play something for so long. Like I fell out of the world so many times in just going through geometry, and just the weirdest things happening. But because we have roused that the turret guy, I do believe. Also, when you pull this guy off, just make sure that the guy up there with the laser sight is not turning to reposition. As long as he's aiming and you can see the red light of his weapon, you can pull the heavy off. But you need to make sure of the red hat guy. Make sure he's not anywhere around. And then we'll have to rush the guy with the laser sight. Now, I do think that it matters in which direction he's pointing his weapon, only because we've roused the guy with the guy behind the turret, and that's going to be a problem if we don't take this guy out in his aiming position over to the left. If he has to be aiming over to the left for this, I believe, because one time I did get spotted when I was doing the struggle animation with this guy, because this guy is a heavy for all intents and purposes. He does have to go through the struggle animation, just like a normal heavy. So we need to carefully, take our time. And In my last successful run of this, I would take out the one of the guys on the cliff because he's hard to take out ordinarily. So the next guy that I kill was the second guy that I killed on my other successful run, because they're just hard to deal with. And the reason that I'm taking them out last is just because it's difficult to rouse the guy with the turret, because sometimes if he doesn't see, then his behavior won't change. The first guy that we killed, if he doesn't see that and get partially roused, then it won't work. So why put up with something like this? To be honest, I did this last year, and on my walkthrough, the uncompleted walkthrough, I did go through this and do the same thing, but it was so long ago that I don't remember what happened, since it was over a year ago. But now we have to backtrack because there's no feasible way to rush those last guys from the other way. And it would be better if you can just do a corner takedown on that guy who walks around the turret site in the red hat. But since you're so far back over here, you're not going to be seen pretty much. So as long as you're fairly careful, it shouldn't be a problem. You can go back up the water over here. It's not a big problem. You just go up it. It looks like there's some current against you, but you can do it fine. Now there's 4 guys left, and it usually for me turned out to be the last 3 guys that I would always have to deal with. But since I did this differently now, I do have 4 guys left over here, and it is easier in the sense that when you're pulling this guy off, there are less guys to the right to be able to see what you do over here. But ordinarily, I would take out this guy secondly. However, that was before I learned of how you need to manipulate this. And it really is too bad. I mean, the amount of misinformation on the internet, too, about this it's not really people's fault either, because it does look like it can be done normally without having to have this guy be in a certain behavior. But I will say this also. When I did this on my footage that got deleted, I had not at this point roused the guy with the turret yet. So how did I do it? To be honest, I have no idea how it worked. I thought it was wait a certain amount of time and he would turn his stance, but it was always on this last guy on the cliff over here. I'll show you exactly where it was. That you're going through no man's land, and it absolutely doesn't work. They'll all have their backs to you, and that you'll still get seen. It's deplorable. So going from the bushes or the grass to this next piece of cover is not too bad. I don't think I get the alert. But going from the next piece of cover to the area right underneath the guy in the red hat to the top left, that's that no man's land that I was talking about. And I would always get seen regardless of where they were looking. It didn't matter. There's also a piece of broken geometry up here you need to be aware of. When you get to the next side of cover, you aren't going to see me hug the left side of the wall because it's broken. If you mantle up it and start to hang off of it, it doesn't break. It doesn't has a semblance of it working properly. But if you then mantle up to the platform where the grass is, that's going to cause you to have a problem if you're then rolling after you climb up. It's going to, I'm not sure what happens, but it causes you to have a mistake. I've also fallen through the geometry over here too, so it's over to the left while hanging on this. I just fell through the geometry, so it's broken. But going to the next piece of cover, that's the really difficult part. But if the guy behind the turret is doing what he's doing now, which is to say he's aiming in 3 different directions. He aims in the direction of the guy walking. He aims towards the building in front of him from his perspective, and then he aims over here. And he does that inevitably, like nonstop. Okay, so I didn't even get the alert this time. So it goes from it being completely broken and you can't get over here to I didn't even get the alert. So make your way over to this piece of cover, just make sure that the guy with the behind the turret is not aiming over here. If he's aiming in his other positions, it's fine to go. And then finally, pulling this guy off, it might seem like if the turret guy doesn't see the body, then surely the guy walking will probably see the body. But fortunately, you can pull this guy's body off and have it be in the vicinity over here without anybody seeing. So that also saves it from not completely being undoable. So I'm going to have the first minute of this in normal speed, folks, and then I think the next 3 to 4 minutes will be in fast forward while I was waiting for an opening, because the game just refused to give me an opening over here. So what I had to do, and I haven't mentioned this too often in the walkthrough just because I haven't gotten to it, but creating false alarms intentionally is something you have to do sometimes to get the enemies to deviate from their path a little bit, upset their path, that is, and then that will cause them to have a different pathing, and that will allow you to then have an opening that sometimes won't ever be given to you. So when this does stop fast forwarding, you'll probably see me aim and try to I'm trying to get the attention of just the turret guy or the walker to the right, not necessarily this guy over here because he's too close to where I am. But I'm just trying to create a false alarm on purpose because I was just sitting here for a long time and not able to have an opening. So when is it safe to pull this guy off? Well, it's safe to pull this guy off when the turret guy is aiming straight ahead towards the building. I think it will also work if he's aiming towards the direction in which the walker goes when he turns around and goes towards those boxes to the right. But this almost failed for me over here. I almost got detected. I'm not sure what happened, but I got the alert really early when I grabbed this guy, and I thought it was over for sure. But since it is broken, you know, who knows what will work and what won't work. So ideally, we want the turret guy to be aiming facing away from us or straight ahead. This does work if he's facing the building, if he's aiming towards the building. In fact, that might even be better. And then when you do rush his position at the end, you'll want him to be aiming directly as he is now, opposite you, facing not facing the building, but just with his back towards you. And that might be obvious, you know. You go when someone's back is to you, right? Yeah, ordinarily, but when it's broken like this, it doesn't matter if their backs are to you because you get seen regardless. And I think it all has to do with the fact that on hard difficulty, there's no turret here. They added a turret and a guy, and then they didn't really fix issues that appeared with his, you know, with putting him there. And I don't understand how something like that could happen. So I'm going to pull him off. Did you see that? I was maneuvering on the handhold a little bit, and it wouldn't give me the prompt to grab him fast enough. And I got the alert early, as I said, and I had a problem there. So be really careful if you're moving along, if you're on the edge, you know, with the handholds, it's not going to give you the prompt. So now it's just these last two guys, and I thought about yanking this guy off over here that we just did and then rushing the last two guys, but I don't think there's enough time for that. So you need to come over here very quickly, and even though part of Nathan's head is sticking over the platform where this guy is on, it doesn't matter. Just don't make any jerky movements or anything like that. But you can see now, since we're so close to the guy over here, what exactly he does. He does this inevitably. He just keeps doing it. And what you want to do for the final kills is you want to obviously rush these two last guys, but you want to make sure that the guy with the red hat, make sure he's close enough so that you can get a jumping kill on him, because he has some sort of omniscient knowledge. Did you see that? I took out the guy behind the turret, and then the guy with the red hat got wise to it. He somehow knew that I did that, even though normally enemies would never be able to hear that. But like I say, since it's broken, there really are no rules. You have to adapt to the brokenness, which is it's so sad. It really is, especially for someone that's trying to do it like I was. But before you leave this area, make sure that you're gonna get a checkpoint immediately after you kill that last guy too. So if you remember, this is where we're gonna start to carry the custom through to chapter 20. So you'll want to pick up the custom that the laser sight guy had. He had the custom, and then you, of course, you want to max out your handgun. I like to carry the 45 into the next part, not the Rafika, just because the I think it's called the MKRX 45, the one that you start with. You want to get that up to 60 rounds. Of course, get all the grenades possible and pick up that custom, which I think always has just 3 rounds, regardless of if you manipulate the checkpoint. And you can manipulate the checkpoint. If you get to a checkpoint and you want to get the max amount of ammo, sometimes if you just reset the checkpoint, the ammo doesn't disappear and the pickup for it will be random. So anytime that you're in a position where you can do that, even for the custom, you can get max ammo. And of course, we're doing this in an honest way, and we're not using the bonus option to just equip the custom, which you could do if you want to, and it would, we're not going to be able to carry it, the way that we need to so carefully with conserving the ammunition. So if you want to just equip the custom on chapter 20 and do whatever you want, feel free to, but just realize that within the realm of this walkthrough, we're not using bonuses and we're not giving ourselves advantages like that, which I don't think you should be able to use without some sort of being penalized, like for getting the completion of the chapter. It should shame you somehow, and not let you have it until you do it properly. Because it does shame you if you used auto aim. It will say that you used auto aim on the chapter completion list, and it will. I don't know. It just kind of mocks you. I don't know if it affects the trophy, but that's too bad that section is like that. And the next section is one of my favorite sections in the game, actually. You might think I'm crazy for saying that, but I really do enjoy this part coming up, even though it is difficult and it's awkward at times, and you really need to conserve your ammunition because you'll start out with 60 rounds, and you really are going to have to conserve and be accurate as much as you possibly can. And fortunately, there's actually 2 checkpoints during this section, and on the second checkpoint forward, you can manipulate the drops that are on the near to the end before you swing over to where Elena is going to finish the enemies off with the car. So I'll show you exactly where that is, but like I say, very sad that section is like that. We can lament a little bit more about it after we do this fight, because I have some more things to say about it, but first we are going to be doing this fight, and what I said about liking it is definitely true. I enjoy this fight. I think that it's a little awkward, but I still think that it's fun overall. And they generously give you 2 checkpoints, one of which is the one that is important. The second one is just another courtesy that they give you. But on crushing difficulty, they usually just throw you to the dogs, and so it's a welcome change to be able to have a nice checkpoint. So what I like to do at first, there's 2 guys straight ahead of where you're going to be, and having grenades here is very important. That's why I mentioned to stock up on them in the previous zone. So what I like to do is there's a sniper here, and then another guy that drops down from a higher area on this cliff here. So I like to bounce a grenade off of the cliff and kill them both. If I don't kill them both, then I just reset. The guy in the red hat usually gets taken care of by Elena. Not that guy, but the one that was closer to us a moment ago. Usually Elena will clear him up for you. If she doesn't, it's not normally what happens. But you need to be very conscious of your ammo here, and because of that, I'm going to switch out my custom for an assault rifle down here, and I'm also going to switch out my 45 just temporarily for the Rafika. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch both of my weapons. So these are just throwaway weapons over here, but they're going to help me conserve my ammunition because ammo scarcity is a real issue on this fight. Even if you come with max ammo, so you need to be very conscious of being accurate. But it is difficult when enemies are so shifty, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed over here too. I do think they do a good job about it. They don't completely go too far with this. There's another couple of guys over here too that I use a grenade for. So I use no more than two grenades before I get to the next checkpoint. Because there's going to be a heavy that you have to deal with. Whoa. Okay, we need to be careful. There's also a heavy coming up with an assault rifle that is a very powerful weapon in that its rate of fire is just insane. So he's right over there, and just be careful because he could put you down very fast. It's an extremely fast gun. I'm not sure what it is. It's just some kind of automatic assault rifle. But as you climb up here, you're going to be dealing with one guy with an RPG, and then another guy with a custom. Actually, it's got a laser sight. Actually, is it a custom? I think it's a. I can't tell honestly. I don't think it is a custom. But the next area that you go to is going to have a custom. So over here, you need to be really careful and just inch forward as much as you can. There's the guy with the RPG. He's not that much of a problem because he doesn't have too much HP. But the laser sight guy here, you need to be extremely careful because if you get too impatient and hold the reticle out too long, he will kill you instantly. There's another guy up here too who's really giving me a goddamn problem. This motherfucker. I wanted to just kick his ass off of the platform. I'm sorry for my language, but this guy usually aggravates me. But he's going to drop some ammunition for our gun, and we just need to get back into cover. So Elena is going to say something like cross over to the jump across or something like that, jump to the next cliff, and then once you do get over there, you're going to get a checkpoint. So as much as I like this though, I do have to concede that it is difficult. It really is, because a lot of times you just don't have any ammunition, and the enemies are quite far away too. There's a lot of foliage in your way, and it can be awkward to shoot around the rocks and things like that. There really are a lot of guys over here, so I'm not sure exactly when you get the checkpoint. I think by the time you're here, you get it. Maybe you have to jump to the next one. There's a couple more throwaway weapons over there as well. Now, on this part, there's a difficult situation here because everybody, well, not everybody, but there's a lot of guys that are just dug in, and they're close to you, so they're going to damage you very fast. And after you kill 2 or 3 enemies, you're going to probably hear the roar of the heavy shotgun. He comes over to the left, so I like to use a grenade on him. These guys are so accurate with their grenades, it's obscene. It really is. The accuracy needed to be adjusted on this game. They're too accurate. It's just not fair. It really isn't. But yeah, watch out for that heavy and get a grenade going. And normally just hanging off the cliff over here is about as much as you want to do, because if you do go forward, it's going to be a nightmare for you to survive. Oh, there we go. It is nice. I love the ragdoll physics in this game too. Okay, so once you have cleared everybody over here, you're gonna get a checkpoint, and this this is a situation where Elena is in peril, but I don't believe that it's timed, and I don't believe that you can fail. So all you have to do is, and don't worry about collecting the guns. And the reason for that is you're going to get another checkpoint over here too as well. So after you do get this checkpoint, you can go back to that previous area and manipulate all the ammunition if you want to. And what I mean by that is you can keep resetting to get the most drops that you can. There's a custom there. There's the 45 is there. I don't think there's any grenades. The custom is on top of one of the jeeps on that area. So I don't go out of my way to do ammunition manipulation, but if it's something that I could quickly do, I generally like to do it. So that's it for this chapter, and I hope that last part wasn't too difficult, but it is a nice courtesy, a generosity to have gotten that checkpoint. But I did. Oh, there was one thing I was going to put it as a footnote into the description, but I'll just mention it now, so I won't have to do that. But do you recall the stealth section that we did earlier, right after I had cleared the last guy and I hopped into the Jeep? Well, if you've got a keen eye, a discerning eye, you may have seen that the bodies on the ground differed from how they were prior to my jumping in the Jeep and then proceeding after I had cleared the last guy. The guy with the turret, and then I jumped on the last guy, remember? Well, yeah, the bodies were in different spots, and the reason was I assumed that I had a checkpoint, and I restarted the software because I always like to restart the software if it's been languishing too long, because it seems like it affects the frame rate sometimes. And I thought there was an update or something for the console as well, but then when I reloaded the software, it had not checkpointed me, and I was right back at the beginning of that stealth section that we're all now very familiar with for bad reasons. So I just had to redo it, and I did clear most of them with stealth, and then I just finished them off with combat. So there was nothing going on there, except I just had to redo some things. This chapter has caused me an incredible amount of grief, and everything that could possibly go wrong on this chapter did go wrong. But I am satisfied now with the finished product, and I am glad that I finally figured out that stealth section, and having to get that turret guy to behave in a certain way is just unbelievably ridiculous. And the way that I got him to start aiming, that is not the only way that you can do it. Sometimes pulling one of the the two guys that are on the high cliffs, they're red hat guys. You can pull one of those guys off, and the thing is that there's this absurd balancing act of trying to get the turret guy's attention just so much so that he gets roused, but it doesn't go to the point where everybody starts shooting at you. And sometimes you will attempt to get his attention and he just won't see it, so you've got to reset, and you've got to reset on so many other different variables. And then of course just getting everything to work is just incredibly difficult. And I don't believe I'm going to have much patience for the next stealth section, because on New Devon, the next chapter 18, because of the crazy amount of time that I invested on that get to the car section. And you might wonder, why invest so much time on that section, and perhaps in comparison to the Chapter 13 fight where I didn't attempt to put in a long amount of hours. It's just personal preference, I think, when you boil it all down. And that particular, like I said, some fights in this game are enjoyable as fights. But it really just seems like the main emphasis and what they designed the game to do is to have you do stealth and clear everybody, but just clear as many enemies as you can, so that when you do start fighting, it's not so completely overwhelming. And this game, the fighting, I don't know. How do you feel about the fighting? Do you like the fighting in this game? It just seems like it's tilted too far on the AI side, and they're intelligent in a way that's unnerving and just difficult to deal with what tools you're given and what abilities you have with the game's mechanics. Again, I do not have all of the aim assist on 10, so I do have that at 5, like I mentioned, and that has been consistent throughout the walkthrough. So I assume if you were having problems, you could definitely put that up to 10, and hopefully that would be able to help you out a little bit more. But now we've got some pretty bittersweet music, and we've just got some gorgeous scenery to do, and we've got some more cinematic moments as well. So I also just wanted to mention that the ethics of this walkthrough, they are very important to me, and I always wanted to just have everybody realize just the playing field that I'm trying to set up here, as far as the honor system, and just getting everybody comfortable with the fact that there can be a lot of edits in a video like this, and edits to me should be such that you don't notice them, as imperceptible as possible. You want to get those to be less disruptive to the eye of the viewer. But I do realize that it can also be perceived as being deceptive, but that is not what I'm aiming for, to be sure. No deception. In fact, I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. That's why I was mentioning the difference of the bodies on the ground in chapter 17. In the stealth section of this chapter, just in case you might have wondered, like, why are the bodies different here? So you have a couple things to interact with over here, and then we've got a little bit more traversal until we get on to New Devon. So New Devon has an extremely difficult stealth section, which has a couple of key ways that you can get through it with very minimal issues and not killing anybody. So the other half of the chapter is combat, and it's a very difficult combat section. And since we do have the custom, and since there are other enemies that have the custom, and I'm sorry if I'm overemphasizing the custom, you might not even care about the custom. I just think that having a sniper rifle is quite helpful in certain situations, because we do have a difficult fight. But if you do use some of your custom ammunition on the fight at the end of the next chapter, there are several enemies that will drop that weapon, and you can refill on your ammunition. You might be able to get it all the way maxed out. Now, this part over here, I've always found it a little odd that they don't give you a little bit of advice over here about that this is something that you need to do the sliding mechanic for, because we haven't really done the sliding mechanic since I think it was chapter 8, and it just really isn't marked. It just isn't really, it doesn't stand out too much what you're supposed to do there. So it's very, very difficult to understand what you're supposed to do. The first time I came over there, I had no idea what was expected of me. But that's all you need to do. Just cross the water in that manner, and then just proceed up over here. There's a couple of things to interact with, but it's just more jungle gorgeousness. Such a great looking game. And that's going to be just about it. So chapter 17 is finished, for better or worse. It definitely was for the worse, so it's a little bit too bad, but hopefully we can get some better things going on for ourselves in the next chapter. So until then, please take care.
More gibbets.